let's define some terms. First of all, sci-fi. In sci-fi, the imaginary settings or fantastical elements are scientifically plausible. They're built from a rational understanding of science and the natural world. They are not supernatural. They are typically the consequences of scientific innovation. And as a result, sci-fi tends to be a genre of ideas. And here I'm talking about sort of more adult sci-fi. Because these are things that could plausibly happen in our future or in our recognizable world, it sort of makes us ask questions about where we're going as a society, what it means to be human, all these sort of big, heavy, heady, abstract ideas, which are, of course, very interesting. Fantasy, on the other hand, has no basis in science. The fantastical elements come from magic or they're supernatural. Frequently, they take place in imaginary worlds, as is the case with the examples on the right here. Though, of course, sci-fi and fantasy can blend. I mean, think about Star Wars or, say, Doctor Who. You could call either of these things kind of space fantasy. The science and logic of how the TARDIS or lightsabers work and their ramifications in society, they aren't so important. These things simply exist, and we're kind of just along for the ride. So if there are any die-hard, hard sci-fi fans in the audience, you may already be throwing your coffee at the screen for the way I'm defining these things. And the truth is, for YA and middle grade, there's not so much high fantasy or hard sci-fi. Again, our emphasis is always on story over message or ideas. So your character is coming first and your world second. I think that with adult fantasy, so to speak, and adult sci-fi, the emphasis is often on, or can be, on the ideas or the world or the technology and its ramifications. In YA, those things can be there, but again, the focus is on the story. Let's talk about some, so when you're categorizing your project for a young adult or middle grade agent, you're pretty much going to be dividing these two things along tropes, sort of the things that you'd expect. So for sci-fi, if it's a sci-fi book, it might have aliens or space or time travel, new technology, or robots. And for fantasy, it's castles and and knights and dragons and unicorns and wizards. Let's talk about some other important genres for the moment. Sometimes you'll hear editors and agents talk about contemporary realism. And in juvenile literature, this refers to novels that take place in our current time period. There are no supernatural or sci-fi elements whatsoever. This is an increasingly popular category. I think as everyone is getting over their sort of Twilight and Harry Potter hangover, again, we're looking for things that are fresh, that are new, and that are different from what's come before. So I think that there's a particular interest at the moment in stories that are just a little bit more grounded.